Every day is an opportunity for you to learn something that sets your home improvement or home services business apart from the competition. Let's make today one of those days. This is a podcast for home improvement and home services marketing. This is Built By.
You've got to be adaptable. You've got to find a way to accommodate an uncomfortable customer.
If you're not getting to home advisor leads in the first 5 minutes, you shouldn't even do it.
Hopefully we're eating their lunch while they're trying to get back up and running.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Matt here with Hatch and another episode of Built By. I hope everything is going fantastic in your corner of the world on this Thursday, January 28th. We are 2 days removed from my birthday on the 26th. I'm recording this on the 27th, and I'm not going to lie, kind of hungover. It's interesting when you turn 31 in a pandemic, it feels like you turned 70 years old. There's not much going out and partying. You just kind of stay home and drink a little too much bourbon. But I want to shift gears and talk about today's episode. This is the first episode of the year where we're actually sitting down with somebody who's, boots on the ground in the home improvement industry. I get the chance to speak with Ryan Shutt, who is a marketing director at Southwest Exteriors down in Texas. They do an amazing job with their marketing. And what I think is most interesting about this episode is that Ryan also manages Southwest Exteriors call center. We talk about how he manages his call center, some of the KPIs he uses to measure success, how he's intertwining marketing, what marketing channels he's seeing. Of course, this is a marketing podcast, so we go into marketing a little bit. And there's a ton of really, really good stuff we cover in here. It doesn't matter if you're on the fence about call centers. It doesn't matter if it's not even on your roadmap for this year. It's something to consider, and Ryan makes a couple good points. He also convinces me about radio advertising, which I didn't think was possible, but he makes some good points there. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick this episode off. Again, this is Ryan Shutt with Southwest Exteriors. I hope you enjoy.
Like every little boy growing up, man, I wanted to be in marketing when I grew up, right? So that was it was either that or first base for the Kansas City Royals. So I chose marketing. So, but no, kidding aside, man, it's just so kind of by luck. I mean, I'll shorten the story, but just ended up working, kind of in a very large call center. It was about a 300-seat call center in Kansas City, Missouri, and just really ended up enjoying the call center piece of things as far as the strategy, the training is a constant must when it comes to call centers. And I'd been there for about 3 years and got a random phone call from a recruiter one day. Home Depot had just acquired a bath and kitchen remodeling company in the Kansas City area, and they wanted to build a call center for their division in Kansas City. So they asked me to come over and do that for them. And so after some discussions, I decided to make that change. And, day one, I went from a 300-seat call center to walk into an office that had 3 granite desks. Phones on each desk that all rang at the same time, supporting 4 markets across the U.S. And they wanted to grow that, significantly, over the next couple of years. So it was a lot, man. Everything from bringing in, a new phone system to, bringing in an effective CRM to, call scripts, call coaching. I mean, it was literally building all that from scratch, but also in an industry that I didn't fully understand. So, luckily I had some great mentors that were able to kind of, coach and, help me better understand like what's important for a large call center versus a call center, specialized in our industry as far as, what needs to happen on every single phone call, what should that outcome actually look like. So that's kind of, how I got into it. And then a few months into that, our director of in-store kind of promoting. So we were a separate division from Home Depot, and we were able to actually go promote in the stores, though we were still Home Depot employees. And so that individual left, and they asked if I wanted to take over the in-store stuff as well as the call center. So I said, sure, why not? And so he got thrown into, face-to-face, basically event marketing. And from there, it kind of grew into more, traditional, actual direct response marketing. After that, back in the wonderful housing burst of 08, 09. They shuttered it down kind of unexpectedly. And I went to work for an ad agency after that specialized in direct response marketing. And so kind of really cut my teeth and dove more to the marketing side of things as well.
Interesting, man. You have that unique background in that you started in a call center. So you started at kind of that apex of like once you actually get the lead, like setting the appointment, and you're right there talking to customers. So how did that shape your, I guess when you actually started getting into the marketing side of things, what did you take from that call center experience that you think helped kind of give you a broader swath of experience in the marketing side?
So, I mean, I think you kind of just said it. I mean, the call center piece is where everything starts. And I mean, and so often, it's overlooked. Guys that I talk to in the industry, like, oh man, we need more phone calls, we need more leads. But when you dive into it, they really have no idea how many phone calls they're getting. And, in some cases, once they do a deep dive, they find out they're missing 40% of their phone calls, which is just, ridiculous. And, there's nobody whose sole responsibility is to take phone calls and convert those phone calls into, sales opportunity for the home sales team. And, once that's implemented, even if it's a one person, like it's a game changer, right? Because you have one person that's responsible for all of that. And, there's so much slippage. And if, I mean, when you're spending, 8-10% of your revenue on marketing, it could be anywhere from $100,000 to over $1 million a year, and you're not capitalizing on every single phone call. I mean, marketing doesn't work. There's no way you can outwork, slippage like that. It's just kind of the whole, you can't outwork a bad diet, right? And so same thing. I mean, you can spend all this money on marketing and generate all these leads, but if it's not being handled effectively on the front end, you're just throwing away your money.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that the call center should always, be a part of the marketing team. A lot of times in some companies I've seen a report to sales, stuff like that. But in my mind, call center is basically that front line, for marketing.
Yeah. Call centers can help you cut down on cost per lead by, just connecting with those leads. Yeah, that's a great point. I want to circle back to, your start. You kind of jumped in the fire when you started with Home Depot. I mean, that's quite a start managing a call center for them. So, that journey from working with Home Depot and then transitioning to a company like you're with now, Southwest Exteriors, kind of a smaller boutique, higher ASP, not a boutique per se, but kind of the same methodology. What's that transition like for you? What did you take from Home Depot that you found working in your current role, and vice versa?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's not a ton of difference, believe it or not. I mean, it's very simple, and it's not my analogy, but you have the triangle of people, process, technology, right? And so, I mean, first and foremost, you got to have the right people in place on your team to ensure stuff works. I mean, you've got to have the right processes in place. So, what happens when a phone call comes in? What's followed up on? How is it followed up on? What's actually said? That's kind of your process piece. And then last is the technology, right? So, I mean, that's having an effective phone system that can handle, call volume, having a system that can, call people back, texting, a platform like Cash, like how do you have that technology in place to truly maximize those opportunities? And for me, there's really no difference between, a large organization and a smaller. I mean, probably the biggest difference is that, when you're in a flatter organization, i.e. not a Home Depot, decisions can be made much faster. You can be a lot more nimble, and you can have a greater impact on the bottom line by making, small tweaks. In a $90 billion organization, no one really cares if you're a, $15 million division of $90 billion. That's not that important.
Yeah, that's so you're kind of measuring that greater impact. It feels like you can actually see progress on your side, right?
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely.
Awesome. When you think about call centers, and maybe this is me personally, but I always think of like an outsourced like call center farm in India. There's like 1,000 cubicles, and is that what it's like in home improvement with call centers? I mean, is it more of a laid back kind of front office type vibe, or how do you run your call centers? What does it look like?
I've done both, right? And so, just from an outsourcing standpoint, I'm a firm believer, like you never outsource a core competency. And, your call center should definitely be a core competency for you and the company. And, so I'm a firm believer in keeping it in-house. Again, I ran the 300-seat call center where you're measuring everything from, utilization to talk time to average speed to answer to abandon rates, all these metrics. And while those are important to, kind of keep a pulse on, having an environment like that can be much more draining, on your call center team. And so, here at South Exteriors, we've got a team of 5 now, of 5 girls on the phone, and I mean they're family, man. It's really cool to go back there and interact with them. They love their job. They really enjoy each other. I mean, it's not without their problems, right? It's still a family, but just very much a laid back atmosphere, but also with a high focus on coaching. So we made some changes this past year that really allowed our call center manager to do much more call coaching. That's probably one of the key things is, with a smaller team, you can do a lot more coaching, a lot more role playing, and have a greater impact on someone's performance, because you're not managing a team of, 30 or 40.
Yeah, interesting. Now, do your call centers, you think a call center, you think calling, right? Outbound dialing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you guys handle, other use cases, rehash, engaging
Yep.
leads, customer experience, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. So, this past year, we made a very conscious effort to, kind of really back off that whole, outbound, the whole dialing for dollars, methodology that I grew up with in the industry. People have shifted. Probably sometime during this conversation, I'll get a phone call from a 210 area code here in San Antonio. That's a spam call, right? So people are just so leery of answering phone calls nowadays, and they're afraid they're going to be sold something. So to have that interaction, via texting, I mean, we've moved almost all of our follow up, all of our confirmations, to texting. So it's been a game changer for us. We have a much higher contact rate. We're converting leads at a higher rate. And so again, people will respond to a text and say, "Hey, this is Ryan with South Exteriors. Just saw your web form. Would you prefer to communicate via text, or can I call you?" And it's half and half, right? So we still do a lot of calling, but it's a very warm call. People are shocked at how fast we text them back from the time they submit their web form. So it's a long answer to your question, which is, I mean, for me, I think outbound dialing is really kind of an art form and skill of the past. Again, a lot of guys do it. A lot of guys still have great success with it, but for who we want to be as an organization and our brand, it's not who we want to be.
Interesting. Now, have you, when you're onboarding, call center reps, and I don't know if you've onboarded anybody recently
Mm-hmm.
since you've started texting, but what's the process like? You're transitioning from call scripts to texting scripts, right? Is it another onboarding process? Do people seem to pick it up quicker? I know younger generations grew up
Yeah.
with texting.
Yeah. I would say that it's not any quicker. I mean, for us, it's still the same methodology, right? So we still have the methodology we follow. We still have scripting we follow. And that scripting doesn't really change a ton in text versus, phone calls. There are some longer runs, if you will, in our verbal script that we've kind of chopped up and made them shorter, in that texting process. You don't want to send somebody a 55 line text. They're just going to kind of, opt out on you. So we still use the same script, but we kind of break it up into easier to digest portions if it's going to be, via text.
Interesting. Gotcha. So when you first got to Southwest Exteriors, walk me through some of the things in place there already, and what your game plan was when you got there, and how you were going to grow it to be what it is today.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had a great structure in place. I mean, it wasn't incredibly broken. I think one thing that was definitely, an issue immediately is the team was really top heavy with a lot of managing, a lot of stuff siloed as far as, well, this person's responsibility is just running reports. This person's responsibility is doing just this. And so, in my desire to be incredibly popular, unfortunately I did trim the staff down, quite a bit initially. And so, but it was good. It was healthy. It made us much more effective. Communication increased, but the biggest thing that was missing from the team was, understanding what success looked like. Like, what is our weekly goal? Like how many appointments do we need to put on the board? What's our goal for issue rate? What's our goal for demo rate? And really communicating the overall company goals to the team, because if not, they're just like some random cog in the wheel, right? They have no idea what they're moving towards. They have no goal. They don't know what success looks like. So when you talk to them about, hey, like, what's a good day look like? Well, I didn't get yelled at, right? Okay, well, that's not a successful day, right? It's hey, I set 5 appointments. My demo rate yesterday was 85%. And it's really having them understand what success looks like. And so that's my biggest change is putting the mechanisms in place to track success and be able to communicate back to the team, like, hey, you had a great week because of X, or hey, last week was rough because of this. And so really putting those mechanisms in place to really track what success looks like for them.
That's awesome. So are you doing these check-ins like periodically with the team and just making it's kind of a culture check, right? Like making sure everybody's in the same boat?
Yeah. So I have a call center manager, Heidi, who manages the team day to day. She's doing call coaching daily with her team. And then during COVID, we actually did a daily check-in. And so, because we were all kind of dispersed working from home, stuff like that. So we did a daily check-in every day at 3:00. We moved back to a weekly meeting now that we're back in the office. And so, in that meeting, we talk about the week prior. We talk about kind of, initiatives for the team and for the company, what that looks like. And so, we're very open from a company standpoint too. We talk about our profitability. We do profit sharing. So that's a super important thing for them to know. And so we dive into the weeds about what that looks like with them.
That's awesome, man. Let's say, there's a ton of companies out there that are kind of on the fence right now about, you mentioned it earlier. It's worth insourcing your call center, basically having that staff in place at your own company rather than outsourcing. So a company that's on the fence right now, what's the advice you would say? You just go for it, just try it out. What do they need in place foundationally to get that going?
Yeah. So regarding the outsourcing thing, man, and I know a couple guys that do it, so I apologize to them in advance, but don't outsource. Just don't do it. The company I was at, prior to coming over to Southwest, there was a decision made to outsource the call center at one point, and it was, catastrophic to say the least. It was, one of those things where it was done, and then we had to pull it back in house almost immediately because the impact was so great to the company, and the long-term impact would have been, just horrible for the company. So again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You never outsource a core competency. As far as setting something up, if it starts off, if you're a smaller company, just start with one, right? Start with one person to where it's like, hey, Matt, your one responsibility every single day is to answer the phone every time it rings. And when a web lead comes in, you call it or text it back within 5 minutes into discussion, right? Start there. Assign the person. And then from there, you can start layering in like, hey, Matt, here's what you say on every phone call. Here's a script, and start tracking that stuff. But again, just go out and go do, right? I don't want people to think like you have to have this huge master plan to implement a call center. Just take the first step and assign that one person who's responsible for, the leads coming in, and they're your true lead setter.
Awesome. So in the hierarchy, person first, people first, make sure you have the right person doing the job. And then bring in the strategies once they show some competency there, and then bring in kind of the software to make their job easier if you want to grow the team.
Absolutely. That's exactly the way to do it, man. Find the right person, then you start laying in the processes, and then you go, hey, like what tools can we implement to make it easier? I mean, because again, from a texting standpoint, it's not ideal, but you could technically still text, from a cell phone when you're starting off, right? I mean, it still can be done. It's not advised long term, but I mean, again, it's just go out and go do and start those first steps of having somebody accountable, and by whatever means necessary, and then you can start bringing in technology, after that.
Really cool. So this is a marketing podcast, so I got to ask you at least one marketing question. I know we're talking about call centers, but you made a good point earlier. Like call centers and marketing is intertwined.
100%.
Yeah. So in terms of, your marketing strategy, your approach to marketing, and obviously, with that call center appointment setting, you have the data that shows this is what works for us. What are some channels that you're seeing right now success with, and what is your kind of ideology of a perfect marketing? Well, no marketing campaign is perfect, but a rock solid marketing campaign.
Yeah. So as far as like kind of my strategy is first and foremost is you've got to understand and own your digital space, right? So making sure that your web page is set up properly, making sure all your, Google My Business, all that stuff's claimed, right? So when people go to find you online, they can find you very effectively. If your website and your digital presence is not in great order, then to go out and start doing that type of marketing, they're going to drive people to your website is a miss, right? And so that has to be a very, very sound piece, because if people hear on the radio, if people see you on TV, if they get a print ad from you, there's a very, 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 very high likelihood they're going to hop online and they're going to research you first. It's just the world we live in now. And so that means, putting a focus on, getting great reviews, getting a lot of great reviews, asking every client for reviews, and really building that presence. And then from there, it's kind of layering in just additional strategies. I'm still a very, very big fan of radio. Some of that's market dependent. So we still we have a lot of success with radio. We're venturing back into TV this year. Actually, next month we're recording spots on Tuesday. I think TV is still a great platform, and so there's a lot of traditional marketing stuff that people tend to shy away from because it's costly. But when done right, it can still provide you a great base for your marketing strategy. And we've also had a lot of success recently with social. 2 years ago, I was very against social media. I never really understood how Facebook could be a good lead gen source for us. But for our flooring product that we sell, it's almost one of our only lead sources for flooring and for that product. So social still is very, very good for us, but it has to be done right and effective. But those are kind of really the three things. We've just very candidly, we backed off obviously shows and events, not by our choice initially, but it's one of those things where we probably won't be bringing back shows and events in the near future.
Gotcha. Yeah. When you mentioned radio, I'm sure people brought up their like glows of garlic and crosses.
Absolutely, man.
It's still a viable part of any marketing strategy. And in fact, people have been kind of going away from it. And so I want to hone in on radio for a second. And, what is your strategy there and how are you measuring success?
Yeah, great question. So radio is a tough one from that standpoint, right? Because what we know is that when somebody's driving down the road and they hear your radio spot, they're probably not going to pull over the side of the road and try to catch your phone number and call you back right then and there, right? And so there's a gentleman named Roy Williams. He has a Wizard Academy, is kind of his deal, Wizard of Ads Academy. It's actually up in Austin, Texas. And so we've kind of used his methodology for radio for a lot of years, which is, tell a good story on radio. If you listen to our radio spots, there's no call to action really as far as a special offer. We share stories about who we are as a company, what our values are. Obviously we tell them what we do, but it's more about what we're about. And so it's how you cut through, the car spot of, Sunday, right? We're having a big sale, come on down. Because listeners really tune that out. And so when our spot comes on, it has a much different tone. It's our owner, Scott, does them. It's a much softer spoken tone. And, it's really funny. And so some people may view this as a bad thing, but we literally get phone calls on a regular basis of people thanking us for our radio spots. Because we'll do positive messages, stuff like that. And people are like, hey, I'm not in the market for windows right now, but thank you so much for your radio spot today. It really made me, feel better about my day. And so, but that's the strategy, right? Is how do you get people to feel good about you, recognize who you are. So when they they become in the market for windows, they think of you first and feel best about you.
Awesome. So it's more of like a branding play, right?
It is, man. And the branding is the B word of marketing, right? As far as, especially in our industry, right? Because, it's all direct response. It's, hey, we run an ad, we expect this many phone calls in return. But if you were to poll every single one of our sales guys and you said, hey, man, tomorrow we're going to take away radio, every single one of them would quit the next day because they hear day in and day out in the home, like, hey, we've heard you on the radio for years. I love your radio spots. They're awesome. And so, that's just kind of the approach is how do we become disruptive in a space that's so traditionally, kind of just monotonous and, just really, a lot of guys that say radio doesn't work, and kind of again, pull out the garlic, whatever. They probably haven't spent enough on radio for starters, or if they haven't had a great schedule. And if they think they've had all that in place, it's been the wrong creative, the wrong script. And so to have a script writer and someone that really specializes in that is important too. I'm not a very creative marketer as far as designing ads or writing ads. And so we partner with somebody that helps us write those spots to be very effective.
That's awesome. It's a funny story. Actually, the last company I worked for was I was doing marketing for a printer copier company.
Yep.
And our main advertising, and this was the owner, loved doing radio ads. And we won worst radio ads 5 years in a row in our city. Yeah. We had people calling us that were like, we're never going to buy from you. We can't stand the ads. But again, it came down to sales reps would go into somebody's office and they'd be like, have you heard the ads? And they'd be like, yeah, we hate them. And they're like, good. Our service is better than the ads. Let me tell you about it. And it's a great foot in the door, like you're saying. So that's awesome. Ryan, I'd love to wrap up. I know we're running against time here, but one thing I like doing at the end of the podcast is giving, a last tip before we dip. So a number one thing, a number one takeaway that you can give any marketing pro in the home improvement industry, flooring industry, remodeling industry. What is the number one thing that you would give that's top of mind for you right now?
Yeah, I would say very, very simply is have a plan. There's so many companies that go month to month that don't know, where they're going, what the marketing plan looks like for that next month. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, and one of his quotes is, every dollar should have a name, right? And so every month, like, you should know what your marketing spend is and where those dollars are going. And then again, I know you asked for one, but the second thing is also making sure you can track those results and make sure they're measurable. There's a famous quote of, I know half my marketing's working, I just don't know which half. Like that should never be the case, right? I mean, you should know exactly what's working and what's not. And one thing that really allowed us to be successful last year during COVID is we had a plan, right? So we knew what levers we could pull and impact the business for the greater good. And we knew what levers we could also pull to drop stuff that wasn't nearly as effective and really get back to a place to where, just our best lead sources were the only ones running. And it really forced us to evaluate quickly what we should and shouldn't be doing. And if we didn't have like a written plan of what that looks like, I mean, you can't make quick decisions that, are critical to, when a pandemic hits out of the blue, right? And so very shortly put, it's just have an effective plan, have a plan in place, then go execute on it, measure the results, and then, tweak it thereafter.
Awesome. That's great advice. Ryan, I want to close out here and give you, just a minute or two to kind of plug, if people want to connect with you on LinkedIn, plug Southwest Exteriors. I'd love to, kind of share some links there. Yeah.
So one thing with Southwest Exteriors, man, is we always, we've been the beneficiaries of a lot of great folks in the industry that have been willing to help us out. Whether it's an email or a quick phone call for advice, man, we're always willing to help out. We have a lot of other companies, in our flooring division, stuff like that, people that are not competitors, but they come in to visit and want to see how we do things as far as culturally and business wise. And we're always open to that, man. We're an open book. We feel there's a lot to be shared with both. And a lot of times in those visits, we gain more from the folks coming out than they actually gain from us. So it's definitely somewhat selfish too, in the sense that, we're willing to share what we're doing, what's working. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to hop on a phone call. And these are the conversations I love having, man.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to join me. And good luck to your Chiefs in the upcoming Super Bowl.
Absolutely,
we were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it should be a good game.
Awesome, man.